Well, welcome back to Informed Nostalgia. We have a very interesting episode today. We are going to be joined by Ryan C. Showers to discuss some um, interesting views on nostalgia. But here's my guest, or my guest, my co-host, Sam Levy.
Hi, everybody. Yes, we do have a very special episode. We have another collaboration with our friend Ryan C. Showers of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. And we cover a wide variety of topics on this episode. First of all, we discuss, as befitting a show called Informed Nostalgia, we discuss the new release I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is a legacy sequel and which directly addresses the topic of whether or not nostalgia is overrated. And Garrison mostly shares his view on that one in this one. I was kind of a tacked on guest at it the last second because Ryan figured, why the hell not? They both host this show together, and I had my own thoughts, but I didn't want to say anything. Um, and so I didn't want to march all over Garrison and Ryan's parade. But there were two other topics in there as well. One, which was something that I came up with, which is the relation of Wild Things to the Scream films. Wild Things being the amazingly fun 1998 erotic neo noir thriller with Matt Dillon and Nev Campbell and Denise Richards and Kevin Bacon. And we talk about how the Scream films themselves kind of acted like its own ecosystem in the way that there are bits and pieces of plot developments and character developments that show up in movies that we consider to be Scream adjacent that feature like many of the same actors, such as I Know What You Did Last Summer and Wild Things and Cruel Intentions and Jawbreaker, and how they all kind of like feed off of each other and build into this like wonderful fantasy land for the fans of of movies of that era. And so that's a really fun topic. And then we discuss one of Garrison's favorite beloved cult classics, which is a movie called Cursed, which was the highly anticipated reunion of Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson, the geniuses behind the first two Scream films. Uh, Highly anticipated after Scream 3 was sort of somewhat of a critical disappointment. And so a lot of fans were eagerly anticipating this film. And Garrison and Ryan get to talk about the production of the film itself and how troubled that it was, and yet why they still really enjoy it. And so I hope you all enjoy this episode. It was a lot of fun to make. And it's always fun to record with these guys. Garrison, what would you like to say about this week's episode?
I do really like the episode. I will be honest, it is basically we hijacked Ryan's episode because he kind of mentioned that it was a collaboration, and we're like, hey, can we use it? So if you've already watched it on Ryan's
That was my
channel,
fault.
you can enjoy
Yes.
these added few minutes beforehand. But again, it was a great episode. It was an episode that I wanted to do on our show anyway, and it's always great to like, have a crossover episode because we are a part of that show sometimes too. So, it's kind of like a Buffy Angel crossover. We have to bring up Buffy every episode anyway. I wish
Absolutely.
we would be Angel because Buffy's the um,
No, of course. And I'm sure that we will be discussing Buffy and Angel 2 in the future, but we'll also be discussing a wide variety of topics in the future
yeah.
for your enjoyment. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Garrison, do you?
No, I just enjoy the show.
All right, yeah, enjoy the episode, guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers and Informed Nostalgia. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers, and here are your hosts from Informed Nostalgia. Hey, Garrison.
Hey,
Abandon '06. How's it going?
good, good. How are you?
Good, good. Hey, Sam, how are you?
I'm excellent, Ryan. How are you?
I'm well, I'm well. So, rumor has it, dot, dot, dot. Do you guys remember that Jennifer Aniston movie from 2005? Rumor has it, dot, 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 that one of the people on this podcast was rubbing elbows with some of our favorite stars last night. I can't imagine who that would be from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Sam, why don't you enlighten us?
All right. Well, our less than 2 weeks ago, our mutual friend of the podcast, Sarah Campbell, informed me that Charisma Carpenter was having a live recording of her podcast, her new rewatch Buffy podcast, The Bitch is Back, in New York, and that there were going to be some special guest stars. And I joined her Patreon in order to attend it. And I got there early. I met a lot of really cool Buffy fans. I made some new potential friends, got some new phone numbers to hang out. There was like a nice little cocktail hour. I didn't take a picture of the menu, but I had three I say it tequila sunrises, but there were other drinks. There was, what was it? There was a wake up in a coma mudslide. Like there were a lot of like really funny like drinks with with like Cordelia quotes on it. Then we went to the live recording of the podcast. We had to put our phones in these little black bags because we couldn't record anything, but it was amazing. So we had everybody come out. First of all, they gave us the instructions on how to react, when to react, and what to say, and like do a little reaction shots, little applauses and whatnot. And then I didn't realize this. They introduced the moderator first. I didn't realize this because everybody, please look your moderator, all I heard was "cla," and so and everybody started clapping. So I just started clapping too, and I didn't have the best view of her until later. I didn't realize until halfway through the evening that the moderator was Claire Kramer.
That's glory.
Who played the great Glorific? Because I had no idea, because I could see her, but not really. So I was like kind of like gasping. Then she looked great. Then, Charisma Carpenter came out. She looked gorgeous in this like stunning green dress, like with like one off the shoulder and one on. And then, so they weren't talking about a specific episode last night. It was just like a general, like kind of like live taping special. And then couple of guest stars came out. And so the first one was Julie Benz, who played Darla, and she looked absolutely gorgeous in like this pink dress pantsuit combo with like a beautiful silver necklace. And she came out there, and it was they were all talking about their lives and like how they all became so close. And then at a certain point, Amber Benson, who played Tara, called to wish her a happy birthday, and she FaceTimed us into the audience. And then then the phone cut out, and then Amber like walked in a couple seconds later. So they were all sitting on the couch. We played a trivia game with them, and we all did like they could ask fans for help if they needed anything. And it was a really fun, really warm evening. And then, so they were all laughing. Amber's hilarious. And they were all like laughing. Everybody, it was a really great time. And then after the recording was over, we all moved into the bar, and there was a meet and greet opportunity and photo opportunities with everybody. Charisma was the person I got to speak to the least. It was her event. It was her birthday. She was sitting there like doing photos. Like everybody was lining up to do a photo with her. It was very controlled. It was very handled. I understand completely, but she was but she was pro, and she was very sweet. And then when I finally got to sit down next to her and take a photo with her, and she just smiled at me, I just kind of melted. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, so it was really, really amazing. It was really amazing. And she was just like, what's your name? And I was like, Sam.
Well, Sam, I think it's so awesome, and I'm so happy for you. I mean, that's a dream come true for Buffy fans. Like, I mean,
thank you.
Cordelia is very special to all of us.
Of course.
So this is just such a cool opportunity. So happy you got to have this experience.
Thank you. I mean, the coolest part was even like getting to talk to other ladies, because I got an even chance to like have more in-depth conversations with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was so nice. It was really, really nice. So Amber is so cool, and so like she's so rad. She's a filmmaker, she's a writer and a director. And I went up to her. I thanked her specifically for being part of the first LGBTQ plus storyline that I really became emotionally bonded to as a kid. And I thanked her so hard for fighting for that storyline, because she and Allison really did. And it was amazing. And then at a certain point, we were talking, and somebody brought up Seeing Red, and I gasped.
Oh, wow.
I was really, and she touched my arm, and she's like, I know. She's like, I know. And she's like, and it made her angry about the whole kill the gays trope. And she really has fought against that like her whole career. And I said, in the show's defense, I don't think that the show was that plot line was homophobic or punishing Tara and Willow for being gay. And she said, no, it wasn't at all. That was never the intent at all. But some of us knew that this was going to hurt a lot of people, and it did. And so ever since then, we've really been, she said she's been made it her mission to fight against that. And then I also spoke to Julie, who played Darla, the vampire who turned angel. And the second I walked over to her, she turned to me and she said, hello, sweetheart. Would you like a photo? And she was so sweet. And then she asked me like what I do for a living and do I like it? And if I was dating anybody. And and she was like, well, there's some nice single boys here. Maybe you'll meet someone.
Aw.
It was just such a lovely evening.
Well, that's it's a dream come true for a Buffy fan, honestly. So
It really was. It was a lovely evening. And
All right.
and one last thing with Claire, I didn't get to speak to her very much because she was the co-moderator. She was working the room. But at one point, I did come up to her and I said, "Listen, we all know the truth. Glory wasn't evil. They were just jealous of her fashion."
But
She loved. Yeah.
well, Sam, please tell everybody where they can find you online.
Well, you can find me online on Instagram and Facebook at Sam B. Levy. And you can also find my fabulous YouTube show with my dear friend Garrison Nichols, Informed Nostalgia, at his channel, Abandon.
And, as Sam chivalrously speaks for Garrison, please, well, hello. Welcome back, Garrison. We love you.
Oh, thank you. And
So-
so, great story, Sam.
Did you happen to, so while Sam was with Charisma Carpenter and Julie Benz last night, were you and Sarah Michelle Gellar hanging out, or was that just a rumor?
Sadly, it's just a rumor, but I did catch her, and I know what you did last summer.
Oh my God. That is the best transition anybody has ever given me. So, Garrison, please tell me what your thoughts are on I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I'm gonna say this. I have softened on it. I didn't see it secondly yet, but I all the times I've already quoted it, kind of like I quote Scream 4, but I hate Scream 4. I have the same exact feeling I have for Scream 4 as I did for the new I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Interesting. I mean, but I know you in Scream 4, and like you're kind of brutal about Scream 4. So even so, that's still not saying like much, in my opinion.
I just thought, like, you said something in the chat, like, there had to be a lot of interference, right? Because everything they needed was there. Are we going into this right now? Like, totally.
Yeah, we're diving in.
I needed more time with the original. I'm sorry, like, my thing's lagging. So, but
You're good.
I needed more time with the cast before we had the accident. Like, I actually, like, talked about it in a different chat. I would have liked it if the movie would have started, the opening was, and I'm sorry, spoilers. Are we doing spoilers?
We're doing spoilers.
With Danica's new fiance being murdered, and then like that happening, and then they all get to come back because of that. Because I do find that they I didn't have a good grasp on the friendship. Like they just went through all this, but they're still friends and they're going to another engagement. I felt so weird about how am I supposed to feel? I think I would have enjoyed the movie if it wouldn't have been a sequel. And it just would have been a different movie because I'm going to compare it, right? Like I'm going to compare it. Scream 4 is not a bad movie. I just compare it to the original trilogy. I Know What You Did Last Summer is probably a lot more fun, but I'm going to compare it to what I love. So if they would have just opened it there, had them all come back for that murder, and then I have a flashback, I think it would have been far more dynamic and enough different than the other ones. I would have actually liked the crazy feel of it, but I just felt like I just wasn't given enough time with characters. There wasn't enough tension, or if we're gonna go crazy and have Sarah Michelle Gellar have a cameo, make the whole movie that crazy because the tone was not there.
Yeah,
I liked the cast. I thought Freddie Prinze Jr. was the worst he's ever been.
brutal.
Jennifer Love Hewitt was great. Like I wanted more of that.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, like I see this more as Scream 6 than it is Scream 4 to me. And so whenever I saw it, I was thinking, well, Garrison could like it because he likes Scream 6. So any thoughts on that little comparison?
No, like I think I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is a lot more like Scream 6 than this movie. I think this movie really tries to push the new cast like Scream 4 and has some quirky characters that work for people who may not be a fan of the originals, kind of like Scream 4. And I think we have too many characters that I can't get a good feel like Scream 4. Scream 6 had the intense moments. It had the suspense. It had great chase kind of scenes. This was a failure on a lot of the suspense, in my opinion. They just didn't give you enough time.
Yeah.
Like if Danica could have just ran a little bit more and we would have had a little bit more. Because I loved the graveyard scene. I thought it was well shot. It was creepy. I was like, ooh, I'm about to see something good. And then I didn't.
Yeah.
I would have really liked. I think the dream sequence would have worked if she said she had dreams earlier. If she would have had a dream setting it up where it looked like her standing over the dead body, and then again we have another dream and it's Helen, and then
Mhm.
maybe if we would have actually seen her Kroger pageant or more about her Kroger pageant and more of the. That's another thing. If we're going to go back to the beginning, I need to see the 4th of July events again, even if in the background, because I
Yeah.
have that tie back to the original where I'm feeling the nostalgia being met, but just not in my face. Like just because you made her a Kroger queen, does it? I want to see more ties, especially if you're going to bring Sarah Michelle Gellar back to do that. Like I didn't see. It wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I think sometimes if a movie, because this movie is not so bad, it's fun, and it's not
Yeah.
good enough to be fun. So that's where the middling is kind of worse than being bad.
And that's actually a very interesting comparison about the suspense between Scream 6, because Scream 6 undeniably has suspenseful sequences, right? The subway, Gail's scene, especially, a lot of people find the apartment scene. So, I mean, I'll grant you that. And that's something that I know she did last summer. It doesn't ace the suspense. I don't think it doesn't ace the horror stuff. It can be fun without being perfect, if that makes sense. So it's just interesting. But yeah, you were somebody I thought would like it, and I was like, see, the movie is really divisive. Like if Garrison can't get on board, I'm like, shit is hitting the fan here. So, but Garrison, please tell everybody where they can find you, and please feel free to explain your YouTube show for everybody.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at abandon06. I think I'm still abandon06 too on TikTok. I mean, I'm mostly on Instagram. My YouTube, me and Sam's YouTube show is we really love to discuss things, and I really am big on nostalgia. Like I love to talk about my love for horror movies, like music I found from old horror movies. And anything 90s and anything like that in 2000. So I wanted to come up with a show that we just discussed everything that we missed and maybe like understand, do we miss it because it was good? Do we miss it because just it's nostalgic? And also we can like go down rabbit holes and see like if we missed something or discovered something new within, the past. So that's if you like that kind of stuff. And we also play games like Jeopardy, and people from Ryan's been a guest, and people from his Patreon have been a guest, like Sarah and Ashley.
We love it. Oh my gosh. And Zach Cherry's been a guest on your
Yes,
show. So I mean, like,
Cherry, yeah.
it's a really fun thing. And like, I'm just so proud of you guys because I've known you guys as individuals, right? As friends. And like, just to see you guys like form this, like, I guess you had friendship before, but like to form this partnership, because that's different than friendship. It's different to be working with someone as opposed to being friends with somebody. And you guys do it well. You guys match really well, and I love the duo. I love just being able to sit here and be like, oh, tonight is Garrison and Sam. I have a little group chat with you guys. It's just like it's fun, and I think it's awesome for you guys. So congratulations on your show, everybody. Go follow, go subscribe on YouTube, watch their show. It's very fun. So yeah. And speaking of nostalgia, so is it good? Is it bad? So I invited Sam and Garrison tonight to, first of all, this is the first day of August. So happy August, everybody. Summer is almost over. I hate the heat. I mean, I know Garrison, down where you are, it's always hot, but up where me and Sam are, like this heat has got to stop. I mean, I hate it. I'm looking forward to fall. So anyways, but it's August, everybody. So tomorrow is Wes Craven's birthday, August 2nd. And I chose a very weird topic for his birthday. So every year I try to do some Wes topic just to give him extra love, even though I give him love every episode. But so, one of his most controversial movies, not because of him, but because of the way that the studio produced this movie, it led to this being, kind of a legendary movie in an anti-hero way and known for something negative. Let's just say that. So everybody, let's talk about Cursed. Is it, first of all, are we nostalgic for Cursed? Is it informed nostalgia? I don't know. That's why I invited the informed nostalgia crew to help me solve this equation. Sam, what are your thoughts? I mean, I kind of made Sam do this topic, and I feel guilty because it's such a bad movie. And Sam is also a tough critic. Like he's really tough, and I was just like, oh no, what have you done, Ryan? So Sam, hit me with it. What are your thoughts on Cursed?
Ay, Gewalt. All right. Well, I hated it. I've always hated it. I understand that it had a really, I mean, like I told you, it's hard to think of a more apt title for a movie than this. I will say that I understand that it had a really, really extremely troubled production, and that led to the mishmash of what the end result was. I know there are some people who appreciate it for its campiness. Don't really. I mean, I think that that's the only way really to appreciate it. But at the time, considering how Scream 3 at the time was considered a real disappointment. I think a lot of people were really excited at the thought of a reteaming of Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson. And what the end result managed to be was just so incredibly hokey and unbelievable and really just a mess on so many different levels that it was just a real letdown. I understand that there are people who love the film.
Are there though? I mean, are there people who love Curse? I mean, I think there are people who like Curse. Like, I think
Yes, I think there may be somebody right here on this particular show who does.
this
And
trio
I
of us, really.
want to cede the microphone over to him because this is really something that he was more enthusiastic about. And so I really please just pass this over to Garrison because I really want to give him the chance to talk about why he's so excited to talk about this.
Well, it's funny because Sam, whenever he was rewatching Cursed, he texted Garrison and me, and he said, "I'm never speaking to either of you again," which I thought was hilarious. So, Garrison, is it appropriate to say you love Cursed, or do you like it?
When I do love the
Go
movie
for it.
now. Like I love the
Okay.
movie now. I was in high school when it came out, and I can compare this. I can relate it to I Know What You Did Last Summer too, if you want to. But I was so hyped for this movie because I had this movie was one thing that made me addicted to the IMDb message boards, and I know if people were around during that time. There was articles always coming out about the making of this movie. It was a really big deal on the internet when it was being filmed the first time because there's basically 1.5 movies. Like they almost finished filming the movie and then they reshot the movie. And I was a big Mandy Moore fan. She was going to be one of the big cameo kills. Like she wasn't going to play Jenny, but she was going to be a character like Jenny, Maya's role in the movie. And there was just Skeet Ulrich was going to be in the movie. I love Christina Ricci. There was always a rumor that Neve Campbell was going to be was offered it, but she would have to do Scream 4. And it was just a rumor. I couldn't find the article when I was getting ready for this episode, but there was articles for this stuff back then in 2003 when they were filming the first movie.
Yeah,
it was
the first version of the movie, right?
And it was so much I found there's pictures that were released in 2022 of the original filming, and I swear Nicole Richie's in one of them for a background scene with Scott Baio, and I was like, I didn't even know about that. The werewolf looked really good and I used some of that footage because you can see some of the practical werewolf, but then they have the CGI intertwined. But for the reason why I love it, I love all that lore of who all was supposed to originally be in, all those A-listers from the 2000s, and I just thought that's going to be a fun movie, and what we got was a fun movie. I didn't hate it in high school when I saw it. It just wasn't what I was promised, so I was disappointed. Now, I rewatched it a lot as a older teen and in my 20s, and I just had such a fun time with it. And I think I love it so much because I was really young when it came out, so it's very much of its time of the 2000s. The people who are in it, the humor that's in it, they're very self-aware, but also you can tell in the movie, which this could be a criticism of some, but I loved it, that they just didn't give a shit anymore, and they were just going to do things that were fun, and I think that's fine. They leaned into it, so I had a great time, especially whenever you get to the third act. It's just bonkers. And Judy Greer's having the best time of her life, and Christina Ricci's having a great time, and the werewolf's flipping people off because they're calling her ass bony and stuff. I'm like, this is wild, but I'm having a great time.
Well, so can I just jump in here? I agree with you. So it's hard, and it's hard because I love this. I love the potential of this movie. I love the idea of this movie of Kevin and Wes teaming back up and Dimension wanting to make the werewolf version of Scream, or trying to, trying to create that same kind of magic, and also having Skeet Ulrich in it. The story behind Cursed makes me endeared to it more than I am endeared to it just as the film itself. And it's hard because, it's not a great film. And, as I was watching it in preparation for the podcast, it is objectively ridiculous in so many respects, and it is objectively messy. But within that, I find some I don't know if it's respect, but I find some love for it, some warmth for it, just because of the story we know about the back of production, the story that we know of, the Weinsteins kind of messing with the creative process, making them refilm over and over, and seeing the mess that's there, and seeing, I guess, the fun that is throughout within the mess, if that makes sense. So, it's not something that I would consider like a great movie in the way that the Scream 1, 2, and 3 are great movies, but it's something that like I don't mind watching. I would watch it, easily if someone asked me to. It's just a matter of like, it's weird to think that like the story behind the movie makes the movie better. Does that make sense?
Agree with that 100%. Like just knowing, looking for little bits of the old movie makes watching it fun too.
Yeah. And like the thing about it is, and the thing that makes it like feel like Scream in a way, feel the Scream feel is there because, they're in Los Angeles. There's a lot of like specific pop culture things about it. It's about the industry, for lack of a better phrase. All of the cast, it feels like the cast of Scream 1, 2, and 3, if that makes sense. So there's something very fun about that. And I like in like there's a gay storyline that for the time I think would have been interesting as representation. So, what are your thoughts on the gay storyline, Garrison? And then I'm going to hit Sam about this because I'm curious what he thinks.
I guess on paper it would feel kind of problematic on how bullying he is and the things that he says in the movies. I'm not really offended by it because I grew up in that time and that it's not an excuse. I think Milo plays the role very sweetly though when Tipa comes out, so it's very forgivable even though it's terrible how the things he says. So I actually enjoy their chemistry as well. Like he's like, "No, I'm not gay, but I'll be your friend anyway." And he's like all of a sudden sweet, but it makes sense because the act that's the thing I want to say about the. I think a lot of this ridiculousness that would not work on paper works because the Wes is great with actors, right? Like everybody in the movie is balanced again, like the first three Scream movies, even though it's not a great. I don't feel like I didn't spend enough time with most of the characters in this movie. I find that I get enough of the characters. I find that the storylines, even though ridiculous, like that gay storyline, I buy them as a friend group at the end. But all within two
Yeah.
days, like he came out as gay, wants to be with this guy, broke up with his girlfriend, and now they're all three friends by the end of the movie. But I bought it because it feels organic for some reason, the way they throw it out there.
Yeah. Sam, how about you? What are your thoughts on the gayness of Cursed? Hated it. I'm sorry. Just teasing.
You know, uh, I mean, I know that Kevin. I mean, I'm glad that Kevin Williamson like finally directly addressed like, this aspect of his own personal life and put it in and put it on film in that way. I have no problem with the storyline in theory. I think that like the rest of the movie, it's like utterly ridiculous. And so I don't even know what they were going for on any level, whether it was as a werewolf film or in terms of anything else. I know that werewolf in the past sometimes occasionally can be used as a metaphor for something else, but I feel like it's barely worked, which I think is usually why it's kind of considered a more old-fashioned genre than like other films like zombies or vampires. But I had no problem with the storyline itself being there. Didn't think it was any more. I just didn't think it was like anything more realistic or believable than anything else that was happening in the film. But I don't fault the actors for being there and just trying to sell like the line as much as they could. And listen, young Jesse and young Milo were pretty cute. you know but I thought it was very cool that, as of course, as this happens sometimes, yeah, like guys who bully people they perceive as gay in high school turn out to be gay later in life themselves because they're dealing with like their own lack of self-acceptance. And I thought it was I actually thought it was a pretty enlightened and chill non-issue way of being like, "Oh, I know I'm not gay, but I'll still be your friend," because I mean,
Yeah.
that's happened to pretty much every gay man I know. So
Mhm.
it's nice to see that nice kind of thing on screen, like, where a real life experience where a gay guy, like a straight guy, gently turns down a gay guy's affections, but they are able to remain friends, because those are like one of the few things that we're able to cling to in real life. And so it helps, and I'm glad it's nice to see that on screen.
Yeah, no, and I think that the way you said the chill aspect, it really does feel chill. It's just the way that it's executed, I think, is actually pretty well done for 2005. But you mentioned metaphors in terms of werewolf movies. I think, to me, every time I've watched the movie, I've thought that the metaphor here is STDs, because he's sleeping with the different women, and like this is all cursing them in a way. I don't know. Am I ridiculous for that? It's just every time I've watched it, I'm just like it's like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. I'm like, yes, there it is. So, Garrison, what are your thoughts?
And I actually agree with you because I thought about that when I watched it on Sunday. I was like, they mention a lot about the womanizing of Joshua Jackson's character, and that she was just looking for some great sex, that she got cursed, and it's all these women like going after him, right? So then their reputations and all that, like it has everything in there for that. So I do agree. It's not super in your face. Like you kind of have to like not, I want to say look for it. I'm older now, so I like understood what they were doing. And I want to say, like, I don't necessarily think that the gay love storyline is actually the gayest thing. I think Judy Greer is the gayest thing about this movie. Like putting on like what is it, Celine Dion's outfit from the Wax thing, and like trying to kill everybody, like and like being sassy as shit. So I think that was a great. But I do agree with you. I think there always is a metaphor of like the beast, like the rawness. Like I love the werewolf genre. I wish we had more. Like I love Ginger Snaps. It's like one of my favorite horror movie series. Like not my favorite, but it's one of my favorites. And I really was excited for this. And I think that and I love the TV show Teen Wolf. So I think that this is another yet again. I'm going to a different spot subject. Sorry, but it was just so fun.
No, I agree. Like, I think that like it's the fact that you can interpret this as an STD kind of a thing makes me again a little bit more endeared to it. Like, ooh, there was something deeper here. It wasn't, and like even like Judy Greer's motive, which I understand. Like, it is kind of basic, and it's a very like old school catty, girl on girl, whatever thing. But at the same time, I think it flows fine. Like if there was a Scream movie in the mid 2000s that did this motive, I would kind of shrug. I'd be like, okay, this is okay. I mean, it's better than Scream 6. No offense, Garrison. But like the motive was fine. Like I don't know. But I guess like the thing about Judy Greer being the killer is, she's such a fabulous actress, and she's the type of person out in the universe, in the horror genre, who deserves to have who deserves to be a Ghostface killer. And this is like even though she's not technically a Ghostface killer, she's kind of a Ghostface killer because of this. She was directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson, to be the person behind the whodunit. So yeah, and the bad visual effects, it is what it is. It's disappointing. Like there's so much potential in this movie. Even like within the set pieces, like the House of Mirrors set piece, I thought is really cool. And like there's just so many different things that like that they could have done, like especially as it relates to the industry. I think like it has like a very Scream 3 feel in that way, but even more direct, even more real life than Scream 3 is. And I hate to say it, but like I don't hate the production values of the movie. Like, it feels I get the sense of their real life from this. So, I don't know. It's a hard movie for me to pin down because, on the one hand, like I agree with Sam. It's a ridiculous movie, and a very messy movie. But on the other hand, I'm so intrigued by it, and intrigued by what could have been from this movie, and the production, and the backstory of it all, and like finding the shots of Christina Ricci from the first movie that they filmed, and then the second versus the third, because she gains and loses weight between the different cuts, and you can literally see it on the movie. So yeah, I mean while you're watching the movie. So anyways, so all right, and gentlemen, final thoughts on Cursed here. We'll start with Sam.
All right, well, one thing I'll say is I think part of the reason for the casualness of the gay storyline and the brother's acceptance of his former bully so quickly is because he's got like a werewolf tearing through their lives and making things hell. And so he's probably like, all right, fine. He's like, fine. But the other thing is, I will say, if nothing else, considering all the casting, like twirling around, I will say that I think that despite the ridiculousness of the premise, I think that Christina Ricci really had the right look to play a werewolf. Love her. I think that like with her amazing saucer eyes and like the curvature of her mouth, like there was really like a great potential for her to be I think that was a good casting choice. And especially with her mystique and her aura, I think that was spot on.
Even like the poster of Cursed, I think is good because of the way that she looks on it. Because like the way that the Cursed poster is, it's like half of her face, and like it's the eye that's prominent to make the werewolf of it all. So I agree with you. And like she could, like, this could have been a great final girl. This could have been an interesting relationship, siblings. I actually would say that it's an interesting relationship between siblings in a horror movie, even as is. So I don't know. Garrison, any final thoughts?
Yeah, like I want to say that this is probably one of the last movies that from that era that did what it did. Like it has a solid like reveal. Like I feel like people don't nail that ending very well anymore. Even like Wes Craven himself in Scream 4, I don't really love that. I mean, I think that Emma Roberts does a fine, okay job in that. But I think this third act was fun. Like the reveal was fun. I think it showcases a huge, wonderful cast very well that we don't get as much anymore. I don't think they pay for this kind of young cast to all be together that are all well established in one where you can go see. So I think it's one of the last things that I loved about my childhood in horror that's out there. I love that you can partake in the lore of the movie as well as you want to. And I love that it's, you know, they spend a whole bunch of money to make a crazy movie and we don't do that as much anymore. Sometimes we just flash and go through and let it, and you kind of get some couple of laughs and fun, but it's not as lasting. Because I think a lot of the craziness in the movie is slightly iconic and it's very nostalgic, but in a way where you can put it on and you get sucked in, even if you hate it. Like, I think Wes Craven's great about that because with Scream 4, I don't like the movie, but I still will quote it. That's why I think I'll end up liking I Know What You Did Last Summer because I'm quoting it in the chat all the time. And, like, obviously it had some kind of effect on me. But it's just, I have respect for a movie that's not good, but it's entertaining. And I think this movie is highly entertaining and has a lot to offer, even though it's not a good movie.
Yes, Diva. So. Okay, well, gentlemen, we're moving on to our next topic. This has been kind of like an amalgamation of things. It's just so many things have been happening recently. So, okay, Sam brought this to my attention, and I had kind of an RCS screaming fangirl moment whenever I realized this. But like, you know, I am a huge fan of the movie Wild Things. Obviously, Nev Campbell, but it goes farther than Nev Campbell. It's such a fun movie. It's so twisty, and like you know, it's just and on top of being nostalgic, it's just has a really cool storyline, and you don't know who's telling the truth until the very, very end, you know, and who's the smartest one of the bunch. It's sexy and it's soap opera-y and it's fun. And I've talked about it before on the podcast, and I'm going to do an audio commentary for it. And we'll do a big episode about Wild Things next year. In fact, you guys can be on it, whatever. But Sam wanted to discuss, or he brought it to my attention, this idea of like comparing, like, say, Susie, who is played by Nev Campbell, who is, spoiler alert for Wild Things, she turns out to be the victor of the foursome in Wild Things, and comparing her to, say, a Jill Roberts, and what Jill's motive is and the evil genius of her. So, Sam, please take it away.
Thank you, Ryan. You know, it's funny. It wasn't even that methodical. I just kind of drew that comparison on a whim, because it happened. I happened to be watching it while there was a discussion about the Scream movies, like in the group chat. So first of all, I always enjoy watching that movie because that movie is just so delightfully slutty. It's just I love. It's like a dirty little slut, and it's just. But it's just.
I say the same thing about. Well, can I interrupt? I say the same thing about your YouTube show. I'm teasing.
Okay, girls. So that movie, it's so much fun because it's really like an old fashioned noir, but brought up to the 90s where you can be more explicit. And in the idea and the whole bisexuality thing just like doubles the opportunity for double crosses. But what happened was, I mean, Scream 4 got brought up in the chat and I happened to be watching Wild Things at the time. And I realized, you know, the whole "don't fuck with the original" quote obviously refers to Sidney Prescott, but Nev Campbell happened to be there playing Susie Toller, and I was just like, this is like a really fun analogy. I think even more so because Susie turns out to be also a criminal mastermind, except Susie gets away with it.
Yeah.
The difference, of course, being that once you find out what the other parties in the scheme did to her, you want her to get away with it. So it turns out that like the whole foursome scheme was a way to her to just get rid of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And she does, and she gets away with it. But I think really what I noticed after thinking about this was the way that, because Wild Things, maybe not intentionally, but kind of, maybe sort of, it's a Scream adjacent film.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It has absolutely a Scream adjacent film, not only because it has the star of the franchise in it, but because it uses a lot of the young talent at the same time. And it's also like a twisty crime thriller. And what I've noticed about Scream, the Scream franchise, is that it's kind of developed its own ecosystem where other movies that are made that are Scream adjacent will branch out into different territory, but will feed off the energy of the Scream universe and like bring its own ideas into it. So things like Wild Things, Jawbreaker, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I know a lot of people like. Of course. And of course, my Golden Diamond Baby, Cruel Intentions, like all of these movies, like they kind of there's the energy, the synergy of the Scream universe and the stars that have appeared in it have brought like this mystique and sexy, cool, empathetic, funny horror genre to whatever they're playing. But they bring that, but they also bring the other ideas. Like I love the fact that also, unlike Mickey in Scream 2, Susie Toller gets her day in court.
She gets her
And
day in court.
she gets her day in court, and also, but she uses it to her advantage. And there are little things that you pick up on, like that you don't notice the first time. Like for instance, in the scene where Denise Richards' character's Kelly is testifying in court about supposedly being raped by Matt Dillon's character Sam, there's a quick shot of her cutting away from her to Nev Campbell's character Susie staring intently at her. And
Yeah.
initially it's like you're looking at her and it's just, and that's a really telling shot, but you don't realize until later. It's just like, why is she gazing at her with such like steely determination? You realize she's like focusing on her to make sure that she's doing it right, and that
Well,
she's telling their story exactly as they planned it out, and that she doesn't make any mistakes. And it's like that's a clue early on that she's really pulling the strings here. But yeah, but it's not really. But the movie lays it out so well that you would not necessarily figure it out until later. I love it.
and that's like, I think, first of all, the way you described the ecosystem of Scream and the way that its stars and the similar topics have branched out and they bring the energy of Scream to their other projects. Like, I feel like Sam just described my entire 5 years of this podcast, because that's literally, I mean, like what I do with the show and like why I'm able to talk about Wild Things and why I'm able to talk about Cruel Intentions and all these other, and Buffy and all these things that I love, right? And that you love and that all the Patreons love and all the listeners love is because they're all connected, they're all interconnected, and Scream's kind of like the base. But there is something interesting about Wild Things because each of the characters they're playing each other, they're playing the town, they're playing everybody and anybody. And it's similar to a Ghostface Killer in a way, because Ghostface Killers, they're performing in front of Sydney and Gail and Sam and Tara and whomever else until the finale, of course. And with Wild Things, each of the characters, I guess, like they get their own finale until Susie gets to be revealed as the matriarch of the group in terms of like the true mastermind of being the person who prevails and gets the money and everything. So I love that. Garrison, what are your thoughts here on this comparison that Sam is drawing between Wild Things and Scream?
Well, I definitely think it has like the same dark but fun tone. Like I feel like that's something that people try to recreate that I guess is just something that's gonna die with the 90s. Because there's just something how this movie balances being very dark and subject matter, but fun to watch, and also creepy and fun and like sexy, and all at the same time. It balances that. I just find that that's really hard to do. I know they tried to do that with like Do Revenge and things now. It doesn't necessarily work totally. I do agree that it does feel like Scream. I don't know if it's because, and I could be wrong, is it on film, like, or is the same kind of cinematography that Scream had, like very like crisp, but like looks quality. I don't know how to explain. Movies back then just looked very epic in the way it's filmed, and it does do that. I do think the very quippy language, even though it's not like Scream, they're very fast with how they speak to each other and quick. So it makes it very fun to watch them interact. And it's violent.
It's very violent. I mean, it's violent, but we don't really see the violence so much, right? But it's all implied, like, and it's very dark because it's about murder and like the characters are killing each other, and like, well, and part of the fun of the movie is we don't see the violence, so we don't really know what's going on when this person dies or this person actually dies. So in the mystery of Wild Things plays into that, which is fun. So, Sam, I want to take your idea and just go up a notch, which is, I would argue that Susie is Jill Roberts, but Kelly is Mickey, because Kelly is like, I mean, how the movie starts out is her wanting wanting the Dancore. I don't know if Susie, I mean, it's hard because it's like, do we judge the characters based off of the first half of the movie before we know what's really going on? Or, or do we judge them based off of like the end result? And I know the correct answer is the end result, but it just feels like Kelly is more so than Mickey wanting to create this big public spectacle and make a big statement, if that makes sense. I don't know what at least her motives before we learn that this was all just a setup to get the money. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's interesting. I never really thought of Kelly as Mickey. I mean, I suppose that it could be. It could be. You know what, though? That is interesting. I like that take, and I like that take on it. I'm not sure if I agree with it yet, but considering that Mickey was not the mastermind of his killing spree, even though he was doing most of the work, that I can kind of see. Yeah, actually, yeah, no, you know what? You're right. That actually makes more sense because he would have been like going on the stand and being like try to convince everyone that he's innocent because he's crazy. And Kelly is trying to also convince like everybody of something that is not true.
Yep.
So that's a really, really good point. Yeah, Susie is obviously, of course, more like Jill. But again, someone who, once we find out why she's doing it, is somebody who we want to see get away with it.
I think
So I like that.
That's the difference, I think, between the Ghostface killers and Susie. I have immense empathy for Susie. I have empathy for her before, and I have empathy in Act 1, I have empathy in Act 2, and I have empathy at the end, even though she is the villainess in a way. But I don't know, like in terms of Jill, like,
yeah, that wasn't her money. She wasn't entitled to it, but yes.
But, in terms of Jill, I think that Susie, the reason why Susie succeeds where Jill fails is Susie's ego isn't involved, right? Susie is okay. I mean, I guess they both really mutilate themselves. Susie allows her teeth to be taken out. Neve Campbell lets her teeth to get taken out. But and Jill obviously does everything under the sun to make it look like she is the victim to the media. But I think that Jill, she talks too much and she gets too excited about things before they're final. Whereas Susie, even whenever she says, a little bit of poison, she's still cool, calm, and collected, waiting it out. So I don't know. Garrison, what are your thoughts here?
I like Susie far more than Jill. I would probably relate Susie to more of a Roman or a Miss Loomis because they're more long gamey. I think Jill's really immature and not very good at what she did in the movie, and I think Susie's like a mastermind. Like she does a really good job, like you've already said it, with restraint and really like playing a character, well, which Jill did do, but I think she did it well. Like she played this character that everybody wanted her to be, and that's not her. And she's like, you know what, I'm going to play the long game and do all of this, and she's successful at the end. And Jill couldn't even do that for one move, like for whatever. But I agree. I feel like Susie could be all the the original Ghostface, or the 1 through 4, because she's just that good. Like that's good at like the Mrs. Loomis.
She's that bitch.
Yeah, like she changed her whole got new teeth, got a whole new hairstyle, moved away.
Mrs. Loomis, it's called a makeover. You should try it. Look, you're looking a little tired yourself there.
So
Nev,
that makes it even more tied to Scream, in my opinion. Now that y'all talk about that, like she just took all the notes.
Okay, so I'm gonna advance the discussion, and I'm prepared, okay? But so we have two other characters here who complete our quadret of people here. We have Kevin Bacon, who plays Ray Tuquette, who is the cop, right? And we have Matt Dillon, who is Sam Lombardo. Such a great name. See, this is the thing I miss about movies. I miss movies where the characters had great names. Like every character in the movie here, the name is fantastic. But Sam Lombardo, okay? Which Ghostface would Matt Dillon be? Which Ghostface would Kevin Bacon be? I don't know. What are our thoughts? Do we have any spitballs?
Lombardo makes me feel like Billy, like
Billy, yeah,
gross and like the toxic masculinity, kind of like I don't know, but I want to play a sad trouble boy,
Playboy, and the Playboy aspect, right? Because Billy was fucking Christina Carpenter and trying to fuck Sydney, and who else was he fucking, right? And Matt Dillon, like his character is such a playboy in this movie. Like you see it, they make a point of it, like that he dates like richer women than him, and like the whole movie's premised off of him being a slimeball, right? And the threesome of it all. So I think he is definitely Billy. So Sam, what are your thoughts?
Sure. I mean, I will go along. I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't really, because of the time piece when it came out, I mean, listen, he could also be Mickey too, but
Yeah.
I think that because he appears to be leading, because he appears to be in charge, but he's not really. But it really no, but it's definitely I think he definitely is more a Billy Loomis analog, especially considering the time when it came out. I don't think anybody else would relate to. I don't think there's any other person to compare him to in that sense. As far as Kevin Bacon goes, I mean, the obvious answer would be Detective Bailey, but yeah, I'm trying to. That's
So
just because they're both like terrible cops, but yeah,
I
that's what I would go with.
I think that that's actually I would agree with that because there's also something in the way that like Ray Chiquette interacts with both Susie and like he remember he grabs her neck in that one scene, like that just feels very like Detective Bailey and Sam coded to me. And just his interaction with the obsession with the Van Ryans, right? I think that like that's very much Detective Bailey kind of obsessing over Sam and Billy Loomis and the legacy. Garrison, what are your thoughts?
I agree with that. Like I don't think that Kevin Bacon's character is crazy enough to be like a Stu or any of the others, and but I do think he's gross enough to be Bailey because I like when Bailey reveals himself in six. I'm just like I'm over this character and he's annoying and it just gives me a gross feeling.
Okay, I love it. Well, I love that we've cast the Wild Things foursome as the Ghostface killers. That was an unexpected development here. We love it. So we have Nev Campbell, aka Susie Toller, as Jill Roberts. Garrison said Roman or Mrs. Loomis there. I could see that too. So we're gonna put like Jill and then like Roman and Mrs. Loomis underneath. Kelly is gonna be Mickey. Sam Lombardo, played by Matt Dillon, is Billy Loomis, and Kevin Bacon, Ray Duquette. He is Detective Bailey. So fun. Oh my gosh, guys, this was such informed nostalgia. I love this. I love the name, by the way, because, like, and I will say, contrary to Julie James, whom I do love, despite her not getting a big action moment in I Know What You Did Last Summer, nostalgia is not overrated. So, I don't know. What are our thoughts on that line as a way to close up? Garrison?
I think probably according to people like Julie James and even Sydney Prescott, probably the nostalgia is overrated because their nostalgic past is tainted. But I think nostalgia can just make you feel, in a way, can make you feel comforted, and it can be. It's not about actually capturing the look and the thing. It's like a feel. It's a feeling, and if you can capture the feeling of nostalgia, I think that that is something important. That means you did something right. Like you do have to add new stuff in to capture that nostalgic feel because if you're just going after the past, you can never recreate that. You have to recreate a feeling. So if
Sure.
it's exciting, if it has suspense, if it has well planned, strategically placed cast members and actually chase scenes that work, but it has to work because those weren't created to totally be like something else. Like those are movies made to be movie. Like Scream wasn't made to be like a, even though it was made to be something new. And I know what you did last
Mhm.
summer was copying that by also being a like a straight kind of slasher. So I think instead of like trying to remake stuff like where like scene by scene, we just make it in the theme of it. Kind of like
I
Curse.
love
Curse
that.
wanted it to be the werewolf version, so it was something new. That's why I think it's different because I'm not gonna, I could compare it to Scream, but Scream was not about werewolves and stuff and about bringing in huge, even though they did in some of the movies cast. It's just it was trying to do something new yet capture the feeling, and I think that's why it's a little bit more successful in my opinion. Almost 20 years later.
That's a beautiful description. I love that. Oh my god! And I love to like remember what you say. I'm going to write it down. Actually, I'll make a post, and I'll make a post of this, and then I'd love to see and think about Scream 7 after we see it, and see how everything you just said about nostalgia, how it matches up to that. So, very nice, Garrison. Sam, any thoughts? Do we think Julie James was out of her mind when she said nostalgia is overrated?
No, I don't think Julie James is out of her mind at all because the past that she had to overcome is not something that she would want to go back to. So I get that. Mind you, how happy or well adjusted she was in the present day is open to questions, considering that she lives alone in a house with like 100 security cameras. But at the very least, she does seem to be dealing or attempting to manage her trauma, and I respect her for that. And as far as real life nostalgia goes, I think it can be overrated if you are using it as a crutch because you cannot deal with your present situation, or if you are too bound up in your past that you're constantly going back to it as a comfort. But I do think the good point of nostalgia, even if you're troubled today, The good use for it is to put you back in touch with your youthful innocence and optimism before life trauma dumped on you. Because
Yeah.
if you can recapture that feeling of what you were like when a kid, and it reopens your heart to the point where you feel like where you believe in yourself again and you believe that you can accomplish your goals and overcome whatever it is that's been dumped on you. I think that that is a really helpful tool and a really good point of reference. So yes, in that I'd say nostalgia absolutely can be beneficial.
This philosophy over here from the Informed Nostalgia crew is like moving me tonight, and like it's funny because like I just and we'll end the show with just this last thing, going to what Sam just said, like using nostalgia as a crutch. I definitely at times have used nostalgia as a crutch, and it's funny because even this podcast I think this started out of like a nostalgia crutch in a way during COVID. And, I realized something recently, like, I was leaning on nostalgia in my present for a long time. And I kind of stopped the other day and I realized, oh, wow, wait, this nostalgia, I'm not using this as a crutch anymore. And I feel like, oh, wow, things are just living for the moment and living for the future. So I think that's the beautiful thing about nostalgia. I think sometimes it can get us through hard times, like a lot of us faced in the pandemic. And that's great because it can lead us to wherever we're supposed to be. So, and with that note, thank you both so much for coming. This was a wonderful discussion. A very a very unique a very uniquely structured and topic episode. So thank you so much, guys.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next time.
All right.